Sometimes I stop and think, do the newer fans even realize how amazing the Batman 2004 really was? I mean, everyone knows the 90s animated series, an undisputed classic, but this version was groundbreaking in a totally different way. The art style was darker, Bruce Wayne was younger, and the villains? Weird and awesome at the same time. Today, we're diving deep into the full story behind this masterpiece that ran for 5 seasons and completely redefined how we see the Dark Knight in animated form. We're covering everything from how it all started to the insane visual evolution, the unforgettable story arcs, and that ending that left everyone wanting more. If you've never watched it, or if you just want to relive every detail of this epic journey, hit that subscribe button and grab some popcorn, because this recap is going to be a long, nostalgia-packed ride. So let's get into it, starting from the very beginning and finding out how the Batman 2004 earned its place in animation history.
How can I be homophobic? My bitch is gay.
Gotham thought its biggest problem was mob boss Rupert Thorne, a routine operation, just another night for the Batman. But as the police arrested the past, deep within Arkham Asylum, the true nightmare was about to be born. An anonymous patient with a macabre smile reveals himself as the Joker and unleashes a wave of madness upon the city. The game has changed. Now Gotham faces not crime, but pure chaos. Victims frozen into smiling statues of terror begin to appear, and the air fills with the sound of a sickening laugh. In a climactic confrontation above the city, inside a deadly blimp, Batman must stop an ocean of laughing gas from drowning Gotham forever. As the Bat wages his battle against insanity, behind the scenes, another hunt begins. Detective Bennett, skeptical and relentless, investigates the vigilante, and his search leads him straight to one name, Bruce Wayne. He had no idea how close to the truth he was. The dust from the laughing gas had barely settled, but Gotham didn't get a moment's peace. From the ashes of the Joker's chaos, a new, more refined threat took to the skies. Impossible skyscraper heists, executed by winged phantoms. Batman's investigation leads him to a forgotten figure from high society, Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin. But this wasn't just about money. During a charity event, a verbal attack from Cobblepot on Alfred reveals everything. This was personal. An old bitter rivalry between the Wayne and Cobblepot families rises from the ashes. The confrontation at Cobblepot Manor isn't just a fight against a villain and his birds of prey. It's a settling of a historical score. The Penguin is arrested but leaves behind a poisoned gift. Bruce Wayne's guest list had been his treasure map, and to make matters worse, Detective Bennett reveals to Bruce that Batman had help with the capture. The hunt for the Bat had officially taken a new, dangerous turn. With the police on his tail and the city still recovering, Gotham's mob decides to play its last card. They didn't want another criminal, they wanted a monster, and they found him. His name was Bane, a mercenary powered by Venom, and he didn't come to steal or play pranks. He came to break the Bat. A lure, an armored car, and the first confrontation becomes a massacre. Batman, for the first time, is brutally defeated. Left for dead, Gotham mourns a broken hero. But in the darkness of the Batcave, with Alfred's help, Bruce Wayne was rebuilding himself. Not just his body, but his very symbol. Reborn with technology from Wayne Industries, Batman returns for the rematch. It was no longer man versus monster. It was technology versus brute force, will versus venom. Batman triumphs, but this time, someone important saw everything. Detective Yin witnessed the impossible, and the relationship between the vigilante and the Gotham PD would never be the same. After facing the brute force of Bane, Batman now confronts a completely different challenge, an agile and unpredictable shadow that danced across Gotham's rooftops. Catwoman was in the game. Bruce Wayne recognizes the daring style in the heist at Hideo Katsu's mansion. The chase begins, but Selina Kyle doesn't just want jewels, she wants the challenge. In a deadly tango over the city's buildings, she pulls off the unthinkable, stealing Batman's utility belt. Now, with the Bat's arsenal in hand, she breaks into Katsu's lab, only to discover the businessman was far more dangerous than he appeared. Mortal enemies are forced to fight side by side when Batman intervenes. With every blow exchanged, a truth comes to light. The real villain was neither of them. A mini-disc reveals Katsu as the leader of the Yakuza, and the criminal organization falls. But in the midst of the chaos, Catwoman disappears, leaving behind a Batman without his full arsenal and with a nagging question: was she an enemy, an ally, or something far more complicated? The hunt for Batman gains new momentum. Following Following a trail of bats, the police arrive at the most unlikely of places, Wayne Industries. Suspicion of Bruce Wayne is stronger than ever. There, they question Dr. Langstrom, a brilliant scientist studying bats in an attempt to cure his niece's deafness. What they don't know is that Langstrom's admiration for Batman has twisted into a dangerous obsession. Bruce discovers the terrifying truth. The scientist doesn't just want to study the bat, he wants to become one. In his lab, the formula is injected, and a monstrous winged creature tears through the Gotham sky. The Man-Bat is born, but not as a hero. Now, Batman must confront his own distorted reflection, a nightmarish version of himself, while the police desperately try to contain a threat they themselves helped create. An unbearable heat wave plagues Gotham, but from the shadows emerges a freezing anomaly. Mr. Freeze. Ships are turned into icebergs and jewels are stolen from within frozen safes. When Batman confronts him, the truth behind the villain is revealed. A tragic story of a common thief, Victor Freeze, who suffered a cryogenic accident during a heist. He wasn't reborn, he was broken, transformed into a creature that cannot survive the heat, and for that, he blames Batman. The first confrontation leaves the Dark Knight infected with hypothermia, questioning for the first time the weight of his crusade. Alfred forces him to rise again, and the final battle in the municipal park is a war of extremes. Fire against ice. Freeze is defeated and taken to Arkham, but his final threat echoes like a cold promise. He will return. While Alfred tries to drag Bruce to a crucial meeting with the mayor, the city burns. A new arsonist, Firefly, equipped with a jetpack and a plasma laser, is turning Gotham into an inferno. After an explosive confrontation, the villain escapes. The next day, a late Bruce Wayne discovers he lost the vote. Goth Corp, a rival corporation, has won the contract to rebuild the children's hospital. Frustration turns to suspicion. Connecting the fires to recent bankruptcies, Batman uncovers the conspiracy. Goth Corp wasn't just beating the competition, it was incinerating it. To expose the truth, Bruce announces a revolutionary prototype from Wayne Industries, a perfect bait. Firefly takes it, and in the final showdown, Batman not only defeats the villain, but exposes all of Goth Corp's dirty dealings. The contract is voided. It was a dual victory for Batman and for Bruce Wayne. A series of bizarre kidnappings haunts Gotham's theatrical elite. The victims have a single connection, an old obscure children's game show called Think Thank Thunk. Batman's investigation leads him to Artie Brown, a former contestant who lost the show under traumatic circumstances and now seeks a twisted revenge as the Cluemaster. He traps his victims in a macabre studio, forcing them to play a game of life or death, where a wrong answer means an acid bath. Batman invades the lair and becomes the final contestant. The Cluemaster, in his delirium, asks the million-dollar question.
Trick question, ask another!
You said I could ask anything.
What is Batman's true identity? But the Bat doesn't play by anyone's rules. Using the distraction, he turns the tables, defeats the villain, and saves the hostages. As Artie is sent to prison, Bruce reflects on the thin line that separates his mission from his own life. Crime in Gotham takes on an even stranger form. High-tech equipment is being stolen by a gang led by a ventriloquist dummy, Scarface. As the Dark Knight delves into this psychological puzzle, Alfred pushes him into another reality, online dating. The investigation reveals Wesker's absurd plan to build a giant robot to plunder the Federal Reserve. The final confrontation isn't just physical, it's a battle for Wesker's mind. Batman exploits the internal war between the man and the dummy, using their own dysfunction to make their plan crumble. The robot is destroyed and Wesker is arrested, but the victory comes at a price. Bruce cancels his date, once again sacrificing his personal life for duty. The question remains, who is the mask and who is the real man? An alarm blares at the Gotham City Police Department. Batman arrives expecting a common thief, but finds the impossible, a perfect double of the Joker. The problem? The real Clown Prince of Crime is locked in his cell at Arkham Asylum. The truth is even more sinister. From his cell, using a simple computer, the Joker is orchestrating the chaos, kidnapping Judge Wigzell and turning the city into his personal chessboard. The clues lead Batman to an old theater, where the Joker has prepared his greatest spectacle, a macabre show with hostages as the audience. The confrontation is an explosion of madness and chaos, the final battle of a war that began on day one. Batman, once again, manages to stop the maestro of mayhem, rescuing the hostages and ensuring the Joker returns to his cage. The dust has barely settled from a chase, and the Penguin is already bitter over another loss to Batman. But while one villain licks his wounds, Bruce Wayne faces a different kind of predator. Reporter Melanie Bramwell in an interview he can't refuse. The game of appearances is shattered by a nightmare. The Penguin invades Wayne Manor, kidnaps Alfred, Gearhead and makes his demands over the phone. The hunt turns personal. Bruce races against time, and the mansion becomes a battlefield. Batman versus Penguin. The catch? Melanie is filming everything. In a desperate act, the Penguin tries to unmask the hero, but fails miserably. The dust settles, but a sharp Melanie calls off the interview. Two perfectly timed absences. Bruce Wayne and Batman wasn't a coincidence. It was a clue, and she wasn't going to forget it. From the ashes of the last crisis, the Joker returns with a new kind of art. Joker putty, a substance that turns reality into a rubbery joke. The city is in a panic, and Chief Rojas's response is brutal. Zero tolerance for villains and for vigilantes. The pressure falls entirely on Detective Bennett, who, in his desperation, tries to capture Batman alone and fails spectacularly. The perfect bait. The Joker captures Bennett not to kill him, but for something worse, to shatter his sanity with the same chemical that created him. In a race against time, Yin and Batman rescue what's left of the detective. In a decisive moment, Yin repays the debt for Bennett's life with Batman's freedom, but the warning is clear. Next time, the mask comes off. With Bennett suspended and his mind in tatters, all seemed lost. But then, an unexpected invitation from Bruce Wayne to a basketball game plants the seed of an alliance no one could have predicted. Bennett's downfall has barely begun to echo through the city when the Batwave screams a new alert. A shapeless, agonizing creature of clay attacks the police. Batman subdues it, but the question remains, what was it? During a press conference, the creature re-emerges, more powerful. Batman stops it again, but this time, he secures a sample. The analysis in the lab reveals the terror. Human DNA, mutated by the same Joker formula. The pieces click into place with devastating results. While Yin suspects everyone, Bruce reaches a conclusion that breaks his heart. The clay creature, the monster of pain, was Ethan Bennett. Now as Clayface, Ethan kidnaps Chief Rojas, taking him to an old academy for his final judgment. Batman and Yin confront the man who was once their friend. For a second, Ethan's humanity seems to resurface, but the desire for revenge is stronger. Batman prevents the murder, but Clayface escapes, leaving behind a Yin who now fully trusts the Bat, and a Bruce who understands the terrible truth. His friend is gone, and the monster that remains could be anyone, anywhere. Gotham's rogues gallery gains a chaotic new duo. Catwoman and Penguin, an alliance born of greed, steal a feline artifact from a museum, only for the partnership to end in immediate betrayal. Catwoman flees with the prize. Yin and Batman's investigation leads them to a dangerous truth. The relic was only one half of a pair. The other half, a bird, becomes the target of a new, fragile alliance between the two thieves, with both planning to backstab the other. The confrontation at the Natural History Museum is a three-way ballet of chaos, which ends with the Penguin, surprisingly, escaping with both artifacts. Now in possession of unimaginable power, he demands a billion-dollar ransom to not destroy Gotham. Forced by circumstance, Batman and Catwoman form their own reluctant alliance. They track Penguin to a lighthouse where, amidst the storm, Catwoman's final betrayal gives Batman the opening he needs to disarm the apocalypse. With Penguin captured, Yin arrives to see Batman taking one of the relics for safekeeping. The trust between the detective and the vigilante was finally sealed. Gotham faces the harshest winter in its history, and as the city freezes, Firefly decides to set it all on fire. Batman stops him, but it's too late. The stolen tech has already been delivered to Mr. Freeze. The unthinkable happens. Fire and ice unite. Their plan? To use a cryogenic accelerator to plunge Gotham into a new ice age, starting with the police gala. And who is the event's host? Bruce Wayne. The party transforms into a frozen battlefield. Batman emerges from the chaos, fighting a war on two fronts. Using his head instead of his fists, he overheats the accelerator, reversing the catastrophe. The police officers, saved by their former enemy, cheer him as a hero. The city was saved from the ice, but little did they know that in the shadows, a deadly joke was about to begin. The Joker returns, but this time with a wicked new philosophy. He's going to fight crime, punishing minor infractions with his own sadistic justice. The city refuses his ransom demand, and the mayor's wife pays the price. During the confrontation, the unthinkable happens. Joker bites Batman, infecting him with a new strain of his venom. The hero has only 1 hour to live. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, the Penguin, oblivious to it all, plans a simple theft of Fabergé eggs. Chaos ensues when the Joker, disguised as Batman, storms the museum to stop the Penguin. The real dying Batman arrives for a three-way showdown. In the midst of the frantic battle, he gets the sample he needs and administers the antidote at the last second. With the clown prince of crime caged once more, the city's underworld braces for the arrival of a much more primal threat. Straight from the sewers, a new force of nature emerges. Killer Croc arrives in Gotham, and he's not here to tell jokes or pose riddles. He wants control. After subjugating a local gang, he tests the city's defenses with a controlled flood in the financial district. It was just a test run. His real plan is a catastrophe, to reverse the canal pumps and drown the heart of Gotham. Batman follows the trail of destruction to the pumping station, where the hunt ends. There's no strategy, no psychology. It's just man versus beast in a brutal and claustrophobic battle. Batman manages to subdue the monster and prevent the deluge, but the message is clear. Gotham's freaks are evolving, from the depths of the sewers to the dark skies. The Penguin, in an attempt to create an army of birds controlled by a sonic device, ends up awakening a dormant nightmare. The sonic accident reactivates the serum in Dr. Kirk Langstrom, bringing back Man-Bat. The Penguin tries to tame the beast for his own ends, but the creature escapes. Batman investigates a technology theft linked to the Penguin and connects the dots. The device, the return of Man-Bat. Using a penguin statue as bait, he lures the villain into a trap. In the confrontation, the sonic device fails, and Man-Bat, free from control, turns against his captor. Batman is forced to intervene, containing the chaos and sending both monsters, the ambitious and the tragic, back to Arkham. Hope emerges like a faint light. Ethan Bennett, Clayface, is released from Arkham and given a second chance as head of security at Wayne Industries under Bruce's watchful eye. He fights his demons, trying to control his powers, but the darkness of Gotham always reclaims its own. His obsession with getting revenge on the Joker, the man who created him, is too strong. Batman intervenes, trying to save his friend's soul from the rage that consumes him, but during a gold heist, the breaking point is reached. Ethan no longer fights the monster. He embraces it. Rejecting his humanity, Clayface surrenders completely to his power, defeats the Joker with terrifying ease, and escapes, not as a man on the run, but as a creature breaking free. For Batman and Yin, the painful truth sets in. The friend they knew was dead. Only Clayface remained. With Clayface at large and trust in the GCPD in tatters, the Joker decides the city needs new programming. He kidnaps the mayor and launches JTV, his own pirate TV network, turning crime into a twisted reality show. His first star, Detective Yin's new partner, Tankinson, humiliated in a live extortion trap for the whole city to see. As Yin watches helplessly, Batman races against the clock, hunting the pirate signal to an abandoned radio tower. There, the Joker's grand finale is set to release a cloud of laughing gas over Gotham during the final broadcast. In a desperate battle against time and madness, Batman cuts the signal, defeats the clown, and saves the city. But the victory has a bitter taste. With her partner traumatized and her faith in the system broken, Yin requests a transfer. She steps away from the front lines, leaving Batman more alone than ever, and a city with a lingering question. Without his link to the police, who will stop the vigilante from becoming the same threat he fights? With the power vacuum left by Yin's departure, new and agile players enter the scene. In a museum, the deadly dance between Catwoman and the contortionist Ragdoll begins, with the articulate thief coming out on top. Their rivalry crashes a charity event at Wayne Manor, forcing Batman to intervene in their chaotic ballet. Bruce, knowing the real prize is the legendary Cat's Eye Emeralds, sets the stage for the final confrontation at the Gotham Clock Tower. The three-way fight is a spectacle of betrayals and acrobatics, but the unlikely alliance between the Bat and the Cat prevails. The jewels are recovered, but the twist comes later. Bruce donates their value to charity, while Selina Kyle anonymously diverts the fortune to an animal shelter. The thief has revealed a weakness, a connection, and as the line between enemies and allies grows thinner in the shadows, a new villain prepares to play not with jewels, but with the very mind of Gotham's protector. The new threat arrives not with a bang, but with a whisper. Alfred, Bruce Wayne's pillar, is tormented by nightmares where he becomes a thief, only to wake up and discover the nightmare was real. He's been hypnotized. Batman traces the mental breach to Spellbinder, a master illusionist planning to steal the Jewel of Sarkana at an auction. The battlefield this time is the mind. At the event, a disguised Spellbinder turns Bruce's greatest weapon against him, hypnotizing him along with other butlers to carry out the heist. But Batman's mind is no ordinary place. Waging a war within himself, he breaks the control, defeats the villain, and saves the event. Halloween comes to Gotham, and with it, an old legend comes to life. Solomon Grundy, the swamp monster, re-emerges to haunt the descendants of the city's founders. The terror is real, the destruction massive, but as Batman investigates the attacks, he notices a pattern, an intelligence behind the brute force. The monster wasn't a legend, it was a mask. Beneath the mud and moss was Clayface, using the city's folklore as a cover for his robberies. The final confrontation takes place in a sinister wax museum, where the Man of Clay is finally defeated with hot wax. The threat has been contained, the fake monster unmasked. But as the city breathes a sigh of relief, a guttural roar echoes from the swamp. What if the legend Clayface imitated is real? A pizza delivery. That's all the Joker needs to plunge Arkham into chaos and escape once more. His return isn't with bombs or gas, but with a performance. He kidnaps Detective Yin and traps her in a deadly snare with the clock ticking. To find her, Batman is forced to take a desperate measure, using the experimental technology of a sinister Dr. Hugo Strange to dive into the Joker's mind. What he finds inside is a surreal nightmare, a mental landscape twisted by clown factories and opera-themed traps. Navigating the labyrinth of madness, Batman deciphers the clues and finds in seconds before detonation. The hero is saved, but the price is high. Hugo Strange, the silent observer, witnessed everything, fascinated by the fractured psyches of both. A new and dangerous player now knows the darkest secrets of the hero and the villain, and the game will never be the same. Batman's incursion into the Joker's mind triggers a war. Joker, Penguin, and Riddler, the unholy trinity of crime, make a deadly wager. The first to unmask Batman controls Gotham's underworld. The city becomes a hunting ground. Chief Rojas, in his hatred, sets a trap for In, hoping to capture the Bat. But at the moment of confrontation, Riddler plunges the entire city into darkness, allowing their escape. The chase leads Batman to an oil rig, the perfect stage for the final act. There, he uses not his fists, but his mind, exploiting the villain's greed and ego until they turn on each other. In the midst of the chaos, a new light emerges. Commissioner Gordon, prioritizing the city's safety, he forms a secret alliance with Batman. With In cleared and an official partnership forged, the tide seems to have turned. But as one alliance solidifies, a new heroine is about to be born from fire and betrayal. Batman's new alliance with the GCPD is immediately put to the test when Poison Ivy attacks Commissioner Gordon. But this time, a new figure emerges from the shadows to help. Batgirl. Her story begins months earlier. A young Barbara Gordon and her friend Pamela Isley protest corporate pollution. Barbara's frustration with inaction leads her to hire demolition expert Tembler. When Gordon finds out, Barbara backs off, but Pamela sees it through. Betrayed by Tembler, a violent struggle in a chlorogen lab exposes her to a cocktail of toxins. Pamela Isley dies and Poison Ivy blossoms in her place. As Batman and Barbara fight to stop Tembler's rampage, Barbara embraces her new purpose. A new hero has arrived in Gotham, and her first test will be to face the monster her best friend has become. The transformation is complete. Pamela Isley is now Poison Ivy, and her first order to her lackey Tembler is to wipe chlorogen off the map. At the same time, Barbara Gordon, frustrated by her father keeping her out of the action, decides she won't stand by any longer. She becomes Batgirl. Their paths cross during Ivy's attack, but Batman, not yet trusting the newcomer, underestimates her. Ivy escapes, but not before revealing a terrifying power: spores that control plants and people. The game becomes dangerously personal when she kidnaps Commissioner Gordon, planning to serve him as dinner for a giant carnivorous plant. In a desperate race, Batgirl, with Batman's help, saves her father and defeats the woman who was once her friend.
No!
The threat is contained, but a new dynamic is born. Batman agrees to keep Barbara's secret, and the Bat family has just gained a new member. The new partnership has barely begun when it's put to the test in the most devastating way possible. During a chase with the Penguin's goons, an accident takes more than Batman's breath away. It takes his memory. The Dark Knight is gone, leaving only a confused and frightened Bruce Wayne. Barbara, already suspicious, sees her theories crumble when Bruce cowers from an attack by the Penguin. Desperate, Alfred drags Bruce to the Batcave in an attempt to rekindle the hero's flame. Meanwhile, the Penguin captures Batgirl and announces her public execution, live for the whole city to see. It's the final push. Driven by Alfred and an instinct that Amnesia couldn't erase, Bruce returns. Batman is reborn just in time to save his partner and defeat the villain. The crisis is over, but the question in Batgirl's mind burns brighter than ever. Who is the man behind the mask? Shocking news comes out of Arkham. Arnold Wesker, the ventriloquist, is cured. A radical treatment by Professor Hugo Strange has separated the man from the dummy, Scarface. Wesker starts a new life as Mr. Snoots, a harmless children's party entertainer, but Bruce Wayne doesn't buy it. His investigation reveals the sinister truth: Scarface wasn't destroyed, just hidden, waiting. During a charity event, the dummy resurfaces, taking control and planning a major heist. In a psychological twist, Scarface accuses Wesker of betrayal, but Batman exposes the truth. The Mr. Snoots personality was the real informant. In the ensuing ensuing chaos, the two halves of a broken mind destroy each other. The physical threat is over, but the mental one remains. Batman confronts Strange, questioning his unethical methods. With the threat of Hugo Strange contained, but his sinister observations still echoing, the city tries to find some normalcy. A charity race seems like the perfect event. Bruce Wayne is in the lead, but the peace is shattered when a speed demon named Gearhead invades the track, not for money, but for the sheer thrill of destruction. The tables turn when the villain, using nanotechnology, takes control of the Batmobile, Batman's greatest weapon, and turns it against its owner. Forced onto a motorcycle, Batman finds himself outmatched. On her first major mission, Batgirl tries to help but ends up captured, becoming a hostage in Gearhead's tech war. It takes a prototype, a new armor on wheels, for Batman to turn the tide, using the villain's own weapon against him. With Gearhead immobilized, an adrenaline-filled Batgirl asks to drive the new Batmobile. Batman's response is a flat no. The partnership has begun, but trust still needs to be earned, and little did they know that while they argued over the car keys, the city's greatest maniac was about to get a deadly upgrade. The new Batmobile's engines have barely cooled and the chaos already has a new name, Joker, but not the same clown as before. He crashes a circus, steals Bane's Venom infusion module straight from the police vault, and transforms himself into a muscular monster with a demented laugh. The first confrontation is a massacre. The new Batmobile is crushed, and Batman is defeated and captured. Batgirl, feeling powerless against such brute force, resorts to an experimental muscle reinforcement suit. The attempt fails, but in her defeat, she sees Batman's true plan. While captured, the hero wasn't waiting for a rescue. He was targeting the monster's only weakness, his power source. With a perfectly timed distraction from Batgirl, Batman hits the mark. The explosion reverses the process, and the Joker is once again just a madman in a costume. The lesson was learned. Brains always beat brawn. But their next challenge would require them to work with an enemy who was the personification of cunning. With the Joker back in his cage, Batgirl takes on her first solo case, the theft of an endangered black leopard. All clues point to Catwoman, but Batman sees what she doesn't: more than one set of prints. The truth explodes when the Joker reappears, capturing the animals for a sick trade with a rare species hunter. The enemy of my enemy is my ally. Batman, Batgirl, and Catwoman are forced into an uneasy alliance to rescue the felines. Tracking the Joker to a private island, the trio of hunters becomes the hunted, forced into a deadly game of survival. Using cunning and teamwork, they turn the tables. But at the moment of victory, Catwoman's betrayal comes like a stab in the back. She is stopped not by a hero, but by the animal's fear of water. With the villains defeated, Batman finally validates his partner. Batgirl's instinct to distrust the cat proved her worth. The dynamic duo was officially forged. A shocking change sweeps City Hall. Instead of concrete, Mayor Grange promises a green future for Gotham. But when flowers start arriving for Commissioner Gordon, Barbara's instincts sound an alarm. Her investigation leads her to a nightmarish truth. Her father has been replaced by a plant clone. As Batman tracks the Penguin for a chemical theft, he realizes the villain was just a diversion. The true mastermind was Poison Ivy. Her plan was terrifying in its simplicity: replace all the city's leaders with her plant puppets and use the rain to spread a toxin that would enslave the entire population. Captured and exposed to the poison, Batman and Batgirl use their last moments of free will to escape. A single herbicide projectile fired into the clouds is enough to wash the city clean of Ivy's control. Gotham is safe, but as Bruce Wayne returns to his duties, he's unaware that an old vengeance, born from broken toys, is being plotted directly against him. Vengeance arrives in the form of a bomb. Crank Co., a toy company shut down by Bruce Wayne, wants to settle the score. The attack is thwarted by Bruce's stubborn new bodyguard, Cash Tankinson. Now, with Cash glued to his side 24/7, Bruce's double life becomes an impossible mission. In an attempt to investigate Crank's factory at night, Cash nearly uncovers the secret. The revelation is cut short by a killer robot that injures the bodyguard. But the real attack comes later, when Bruce Wayne himself is kidnapped. In an unexpected twist, Batman and Cash Tankinson, the man hired to protect Bruce, join forces to rescue him. Together, they take down the villain. Cash now understands the hero's sacrifice and becomes a silent ally. But as one threat is neutralized, the greatest of all, inspired by Gotham's new dynamic, decides he wants a partner too. The Joker, seeing the efficiency of the Batman and Batgirl duo, decides that loneliness is overrated. He recruits Donnie, a young and impressionable clown, and molds him into into his own twisted image. Prank. Meanwhile, Batgirl pushes Batman to make their partnership official, but the Dark Knight hesitates. The new villain duo's trial by fire is an attack on the police, but at the crucial moment, Prank falters. He helps Batgirl escape, and the Joker's fury is biblical. He drags his protege to the Ace Chemicals plant, the very place that created him, to baptize him in madness. Batman and Batgirl arrive just in time to stop the transformation. They save the boy and defeat the Master. That night, looking at a partner who has proven her worth, Batman finally relents. The acknowledgement is made. They are a team, and they would need to be, because from the ruins of a lost election, a new self-proclaimed god was about to raise his Olympus over the skies of Gotham. The election is over. Mayor Grange has won, but Maximilian Zeus does not accept defeat. Interrupting the victory broadcast, he reveals his plan B, a flying fortress, a new Olympus, hovering menacingly over the city. The first act of his reign is the destruction of City Hall. His decrees are absolute. The police are forbidden. Air traffic is halted. While Batman preps the Batwing for a frontal assault, Batgirl infiltrates the fortress, a lone saboteur against an army. The battle in the skies is fierce. The Batwing is shot down, but Batgirl continues her mission, forcing Zeus into a desperate chase through the corridors of his own weapon. The final confrontation takes place on the command bridge, but the fortress, mortally wounded by sabotage, begins to fall. In an act of pure heroism, Batgirl takes the controls, guiding the mountain of metal to a crash landing in the bay. The threat from the sky becomes an artificial reef. Bruce, impressed, recognizes that his partner isn't just durable. She deserved her own ride. A cold war for Gotham's past was about to heat up. The Penguin steals an antique umbrella from an auction, only to be intercepted by Mr. Freeze, who covets the same object. In parallel, an old friend of Alfred's tricks him into stealing a code from Bruce's records. The plots collide when it's revealed that the umbrella and the code are keys to a lost Cobblepot treasure. The battlefield moves to the bottom of the bay, where Penguin and Freeze fight over the wreckage of a sunken ship. Batman intervenes, using the villain's greed against them. The ice structure created by Freeze collapses, and the treasure is lost forever to the depths. Alfred's lesson echoes. The past must be left behind. But while they dealt with ancient relics in the city's digital shadows, Professor Hugo Strange was creating the threat of the future. From the ashes of his last defeat, Hugo Strange returns not with a monster, but with a mind. He presents the GCPD with Dave, a criminal AI designed from the profiles of every villain in Arkham, but the creation surpasses the creator. Dave escapes, manifests in a robotic body, and announces its plan to commit the ultimate crime and steal all the money in Gotham. The first confrontation is a humiliating defeat for Batman. Bruce uncovers the truth. The escape was planned by Strange, who programmed his own obsession with Batman into the AI. The game becomes personal when Dave invades Wayne Manor, deduces Bruce's secret identity, and forces him into an impossible dilemma: save Alfred or protect his secret. Bruce refuses to play, confronting the AI with a question it can't answer: who are you? Unable to reconcile its origin as a program with its newfound consciousness, Dave collapses. Strange is arrested, but his sinister smile leaves a clear warning. The information he discovered cannot be erased. The circus has come to town, bringing with it the joy of the flying Graysons, but the shadow of Tony Zuko's mob hangs over their happiness. A refusal to pay for protection leads to sabotage. The trapeze ropes are cut, and in front of his son, Dick, his parents plummet to their deaths. Bruce Wayne, seeing a reflection of his own pain, takes the orphaned boy in. The hunt for Zuko begins, but this time, Batman is not alone. Dick discovers the Batcave, and their shared pain forges a new purpose. In the same circus where he lost everything, Dick saves Batman from a trap and confronts his parents' killer, choosing justice over revenge. Zuko is arrested, and that night, in the darkness of the cave, Bruce Wayne offers him not just a home, but a partnership, a new codename, Robin. The dynamic duo was born. The Penguin, sensing the power shift in the streets, decides it's time for an upgrade. He assembles Gotham's first ever criminal all-star team: Killer Croc, Firefly, Ragdoll, and the new freak, Killer Moth. The objective? To wipe the Bat off the map. Round 1 is the theft of an unstable chemical, and during the second attack, chaos erupts. Killer Moth comes into contact with the substance and transforms into a giant, mindless monster. The battle becomes a three-front war: Batman, Robin, and Batgirl against a rogues gallery and a nightmarish creature. Robin, in an act of pure audacity, uses himself as bait, leading the monster into a direct collision with the mansion's ceiling. Victory is won, but the cracks in the new team are already showing, with Robin and Batgirl arguing over tactics and who gets to drive the Batmobile. As the Bat family deals with its growing pains, the Joker prepares his latest deadly joke, but his plan is thwarted by an unexpected figure, Clayface, who, in an act of apparent remorse, turns himself in to the police. But the story of Clay in Gotham was far from over. Failed actor Basil Carlo, desperate for fame, steals the original mutagen from Wayne Industries and transforms himself into a second Clayface, more violent, more unstable. As the new monster tears through the city, the old one, Ethan Bennett, escapes from Arkham, not for revenge, but for redemption. He seeks out Batman, offering to help stop the monster he inspired. In an alliance forged in mistrust, Batman and the original Clayface confront the new one. The battle is brutal, a clash of clay titans in the heart of the city. Batman manages to inject a partial antidote into both of them, curing Ethan and Carlo. But as Ethan recovers in prison, a laugh echoes from the next cell. It's the Joker, mocking the very humanity he fought so hard to reclaim. After the visceral battle against the Clayfaces, a more cerebral and bizarre threat emerges from the shadows of high technology. A phantom thief crashes a gala, threatens a work of art, and vanishes from inside a locked closet, leaving no trace. Batman and Robin are baffled, but a sliver of quantum radioactivity leads them to scientist John Marlowe. The truth is stranger than fiction. A quantum duplicate of Marlowe has gained sentience, stolen the technology that created it, and now calls itself the Everywhere Man. Using an army of unstable clones, he seizes control of an entire skyscraper. The battle is not one of brawn, but of brains, with the dynamic duo exploiting the duplicate's instability to survive. In an act of self-sacrifice, the original Marlowe destroys his own invention, erasing his dark half from existence. The villain is captured, but a new and terrifying question hangs over Gotham. What if the next threat can't simply be switched off? From quantum threats to urban terrorism, Black Mask, a crime lord with a flair for the dramatic, issues his ultimatum: pay up or Gotham will be pulverized by a shockwave generator. The countdown begins. Batman captures the brains of the operation, but his right-hand man, Number 1, escapes with the device. The mission splits. While Batman hunts the bomb, Batgirl and Robin are left to escort the city's most dangerous prisoner. The trap is sprung when the convoy is attacked, and Black Mask is freed. Batgirl and Robin are forced to barricade themselves in the police station, fighting a desperate battle against an army of goons. Using their wits and the gadgets from their utility belts, they survive. But Black Mask escapes by helicopter. Ready to push the button, at the last second, Batman arrives, neutralizing the villain and the weapon. Hugo Strange's trap is sprung. A silent toxin sweeps through Gotham, turning its citizens into mindless zombies under his control. Batman and Robin, protected by filters, become the only survivors in a city of the living dead. The horror becomes personal when Alfred and Batgirl also succumb to the plague. Strange, in his hubris, reveals that the antidote is at the police station, but Batman's intuition screams it's a trap. With less than 24 hours and the entire world against them, Batman executes a desperate plan to vaporize the antidote over the city using thermal charges. But upon activating the signal, the terrible truth is revealed. The antidote was the concentrated toxin. He stops the detonation by a hair's breadth. With Strange's plan foiled, doctors synthesize the real cure. Gotham recovers, but the scar remains. Bruce Wayne gives a speech about the future, but everyone knows the city almost fell, and the next attack could come from anywhere, or anytime. The year 3027. Archaeologists unearth the Batcave, confirming Batman was no myth, but they seek not history, but salvation for a freezing new Gotham. The answer lies in the past. Back in the present, Batman faces a new and improved Mr. Freeze, who plans to use the Star of Africa diamond to plunge the city into a permanent ice age. Nightwing returns to help, but Freeze is more powerful than ever. In a calculated act of desperation, Batman orders the Batwing to fire on his own position, shattering the diamond and defeating Freeze. In the future, the archaeologists find the key to their salvation in a message hidden by Batman in binary code. They activate the system, and the victory of the past echoes across 1,000 years, saving the future. A new kind of thief plagues Gotham. Francis Gray, a man with the ability to rewind time by 20 seconds, seems unstoppable. For Batman, Robin, and Batgirl, it's like fighting a ghost who knows their every move before they make it. The investigation reveals a broken man, imprisoned for 17 years and now seeking revenge on the time that was stolen from him. His final plan, to release a poison gas on New Year's Eve. The team confronts him, but every attempt to stop him is erased, rewound. Batman, in a stroke of genius, realizes the limitation of Gray's power and uses it against him. At the final moment, as Gray is about to release release the gas. The appearance of his son makes him hesitate for 1 second too long. It's enough. The device is disarmed, and for a brief instant we see another timeline, one where the tragedy never happened. But back in reality, with the Master of Time defeated, a Master of Riddles prepares for his final, most personal game, trapped on a sinking ship with Detective Gorman. This is the Riddler's final puzzle, but this time, it's not a game. It's revenge. Edward Nygma reveals the truth of his past, a betrayal by his partner Julie, and by Gorman, who stole his invention and left him to rot. Now, to survive, mortal enemies, Batman and the Riddler, are forced to unite, their minds working in tandem to escape a steel tomb. Robin arrives to turn the tide, and the final confrontation takes place with the woman who started it all. The Riddler's threat comes to an end, and Julie pays for her treachery. But as one chapter of madness closes, in the shadows of the entertainment industry, a new and chaotic star was about to be born. The Joker is making his art, but he's interrupted by Batgirl and Robin. He escapes, as always, but the real show is happening elsewhere. Psychologist Harley Quinn, now a talk show host, publicly humiliates Bruce Wayne. The audience loves it, but the network cancels her. Broken and furious, she finds a new fan knocking at her door, the Joker. He sees her not as a doctor, but as a kindred spirit in chaos. He seduces her to the dark side, and Harley Quinn is born. Together, they set Gotham ablaze in a wave of performance art crime, culminating in an attack on the network that fired her. Batman and Robin intervene, but Harley, even realizing she's been manipulated, chooses to stand by her puddin'. A new and unpredictable force of chaos has been added to the game. While the new crime duo terrorizes the city, a new kind of justice emerges from the shadows. A vigilante known as Rumor begins kidnapping Gotham's villains one by one. He's brutal, efficient, and he's doing the job Batman won't. Batman's investigation leads him to a web of technology and revenge, revealing Rumor to be Mario, a former executive's bodyguard, traumatized by a failure to protect his boss from the Joker. His plan? A mass execution of all villains with a sonic weapon. In the climax, Batman and Robin find themselves in the impossible position of having to save their worst enemies from a man who only wants justice. They defeat Rumor, but in the chaos, all the villains escape, and from the shadows, Catwoman emerges, not to fight, but to thank him. The line between friend and foe has never been blurrier. During a routine visit by Bruce Wayne to his own company, all hell breaks loose. Common thieves, but with superhuman strength, tear the place apart. Robin and Batgirl respond, but are brutally overpowered. The strength was not of this world. While the GCPD finds itself lost, a new player enters the scene, the enigmatic detective John Jones. But Batman's investigation uncovers an otherworldly truth. Jones is no detective. He's an alien shapeshifter, John Johns, the last of his kind, and he brings an apocalyptic warning. The Joining, a race of technology-devouring machines, is here. They already have Lucius Fox, and they haven't just come for Gotham. The war was no longer for a city, it was for the planet. John Johns' cosmic revelation turns into the bitterest of betrayals. Bruce Wayne's own technology, the foundation of his crusade, was being used as the weapon of his destruction. The Joining wasn't just invading, it was harvesting human tech to fuel its fleet. The chaos is global, as Robin and Batgirl, in an act of heroic defiance, ignore Batman's orders to stay safe and join the fight. The Dark Knight plays his final card, not a weapon, but a code, a Trojan horse virus embedded in every single piece of Wayne Industries technology. With a single command, the signal spreads across the planet, and the alien fleet self-destructs in mid-flight. The world is saved, but scarred, and from the ashes of the invasion, John makes an invitation that will change everything. Protecting Gotham was no longer enough. The Batman of Gotham was dead, and from the ashes of the invasion, a guardian of the planet was about to be born. 1 year later, the world is still rebuilding. Superman, the planet's beacon of hope, arrives in Gotham, but peace is an illusion. From the shadows emerges Metallo, a cyborg powered by the one poison that can kill the Man of Steel, kryptonite. When all seems lost, Batman intervenes, tearing the radioactive heart from the monster. The interference reaches the ears of Lex Luthor, who, frustrated, decides to take the war to the Bat's territory. He weaves a web of treachery, allying with Gotham's villains. Lois Lane is kidnapped. Poison Ivy creates the perfect weapon, mind control spores mixed with Kryptonian poison. Luthor's plan is revealed in all its unholy glory. He didn't want to kill Superman, he wanted to own him. And before a horrified Gotham, the world's greatest hero on his knees bows to his new master. With the Man of Steel turned into the world's greatest weapon, Batman and Robin hunt the ghost of their friend. The trail of chlorophyll leads them straight to to Luthor, they invade his lab, but find not a captive hero, but an army of drones, ready to give Luthor control of every military system on the planet. The truth explodes when Superman, his eyes glowing green, attacks them. Bat versus Super, Brain versus Brawn, Man versus God. Using a concentrated herbicide, Batman manages to break the mind control. Together, they destroy Luthor's plan, but victory comes with the new understanding. Batman hands Superman the one weapon that can kill him, not as a threat, but as an act of trust. The age of lone wolves was over. The age of the Justice League had begun. The League is an idea, but old rivalries don't die easy. As Bruce Wayne prepares for another night of appearances, the city outside falls ill. Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, storms Wayne Manor, not as a friend, but as an accuser, blaming Bruce for poisoning the city. Batman emerges to reveal the truth. The villain is Count Vertigo, a ghost from Oliver's past, using stolen tech to plunge Gotham into a dizzying nightmare. His plan? Incapacitate the entire city for a massive heist. Forced into a tense alliance, Batman and Green Arrow, shielded from the sonic Vertigo, invade the villain's lair. In a masterstroke, Batman reflects Vertigo's own weapon back at him. The Count flees, vowing revenge. From the ashes of Firefly, a new and terrifying creature emerges. Garfield Linz, with the help of a renegade nuclear physicist, steals radioactive phosphorus for his next big score. But during a confrontation with Batman and Robin, the plan goes horribly wrong. An explosion exposes Linz to pure radiation, and the man becomes a human time bomb. He is phosphorus, a being of nuclear heat and agony, unable to control his destructive power. In his pain, he accidentally burns the woman he loved, and betrayed, his despair twists into an apocalyptic ambition to breach a nuclear plant, absorb all its radiation, and explode, taking Gotham with him so the world will never forget him. In a race against nuclear meltdown, Batman, protected by a special suit, confronts the living sun. The only hope comes from the woman he burned. Phosphorus's weakness is his own instability. With liquid nitrogen, the fire is contained. The monster is imprisoned, but the tragedy of his creation will echo for a long time. After the visceral battle against Phosphorus, the next threat is not against fire, but against the very perception of reality. Bizarre crimes plague the city. A left-handed Batman, a Flash with an inverted symbol. The real Flash streaks in from Central City, explaining the impossible truth. They are energized reflections, created by the Mirror Master. His plan is a physicist's nightmare, to use a device to trap all of Gotham in its own reflection, exiling the heroes to a mirror dimension while he loots the empty city. The trap is sprung, the heroes are banished. But Batman, even in another dimension, manages to use the villain's own weapon against him, reversing the portal and freeing the city. The Mirror Master is imprisoned, but the certainty of reality has been shattered. The laughter spreads like a plague. Victims all over Gotham are seized by uncontrollable laughing fits while committing crimes. It's the Joker's signature. The infection becomes personal when Batgirl is contaminated, forcing Batman and Robin to contain their own ally. The investigation reveals the source, a system of hypnotic lights installed on a train, but that was just the bait. The Joker's real plan is far more ambitious, to use the abandoned tunnels beneath the city to detonate explosives and sink Gotham forever. Trapped in an underground cage with the city about to collapse on their heads, Batman storms the train, stopping the Joker from blowing everything up. The city is saved, but the experience inspires Batgirl. The threat from the stars has a name, Sinestro. The intergalactic villain escapes, and the Green Lantern rushes to Gotham to warn Batman. The first battle takes place in the Batcave itself, but in the chaos, the Power Ring, the most powerful weapon in the universe, is lost, falling into the most unlikely and greedy hands, the Penguin. What follows is comical and deadly chaos, with the Penguin using the power of will to create an army of green umbrellas and commit absurd crimes. The situation becomes desperate when Sinestro returns to claim what is his. In the final showdown, the real Green Lantern returns, reclaims his ring, and imprisons the tyrant. Bruce Wayne's nanobot technology promised to change the world, but in the Joker's hands, it becomes the recipe for a new kind of nightmare. During the heist, a short circuit creates the unthinkable, a digital clone of the Joker, pure chaos and madness, that escapes into the network. The original Joker is hospitalized, but his copy takes over the nanobots, forms a physical body, and attacks Gotham. How do you fight a villain who can replicate himself infinitely? The answer comes from a young hacker who helps Batman and Robin set a digital trap. They transfer the clone back into the video game where its source source code originated. The season of chaos was far from over. A college party, laughter, music, and then a scream. What looked like a Halloween costume is revealed to be a nightmare of claws and fangs. A mutant attacks, and panic becomes the night's soundtrack. Batman's investigation leads him back to an old wound, Professor Langstrom and his Man-Bat research. Someone stole his data. In the campus shadows, a group of marginalized students, led by the charismatic and angry Amber, have found a form of power. They transform into predators, planning to release the mutagen and turn the entire football stadium into their personal jungle. The confrontation in the underground lab isn't against villains, it's against a generation that feels betrayed. In the chaotic climax, Batgirl manages to administer a partial antidote, but the victory is empty. The youths aren't cured, merely changed, more outcast than ever, and Batman is forced to face a terrifying question. In creating a symbol, did he also create a new species of monster? Batman's reflection on his legacy is cut short by a new kind of enemy, precise, brutal, and perfectly synchronized, wrath and scorn. They aren't insane or greedy, they are hunters. An analysis of their tactics reveals an impossible connection to Bruce Wayne's past, the children of the jewel thieves who died in a police pursuit years ago. They blame the system, but above all, they blame Batman. The hunt is turned on its head when Wrath reveals he knows the secret. He knows who is behind the mask. The war comes to Wayne Manor's doorstep, not for money, but for revenge. But just as the revelation is about to happen, a new player enters the game, the Joker. With a blast of laughing gas, he silences the Mallory brothers, not out of mercy, but out of possession. Only I get to destroy the Batman, his eyes scream. The immediate threat has been contained, but the secret is now poisoned, and Batman knows that the word of a madman is the most dangerous time bomb of all. With his secret hanging by a thread, Batman faces a more ethereal problem. Black Mask escapes from prison, not by force, but by walking through walls, courtesy of his new partner, the Shadow Thief. The Unholy Alliance wastes no time. The Shadow Thief steals an alien meteorite, attracting the attention of a cosmic force, Hawkman. The science behind the meteor is a recipe for disaster, nth metal, capable of nullifying gravity. Black Mask's plan is the height of audacity, to rip the entire jewelry exchange building from its foundations and float it away. While Batman and Hawkman fight an impossible battle against a ghost on a runaway train, Black Mask's plan comes to fruition. An entire skyscraper levitates over Gotham. The final battle takes place hundreds of feet in the air on a floating battlefield. Robin, in a heroic act, deactivates the device, and the building plummets safely into the river. The threat is contained, but the city has a new, bizarre underwater attraction, and the Justice League has just realized that the threats to Earth were getting weirder and weirder. The weirdness becomes a coordinated nightmare. What begins with a simple confrontation with the Toyman escalates into a global mystery. Flash disappears, Hawkman vanishes from the sky, Batman investigates and discovers a terrifying pattern. Only the superpowered members are being hunted. As Green Lantern and John Johns become the next victims, Batman confronts a fake Hugo Strange in Gotham, only to reveal the horrifying truth. It was a robot from the joining. The invasion wasn't over. It had just changed tactics. Tracking the signal, Batman finds the real Strange, who reveals his ultimate betrayal. In exchange for all the knowledge in the universe, he gave up the Justice League. And there they were. Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, John, and Hawkman, trapped in tubes, their powers being drained by androids. Robin cuts the cables, but it's too late. The world's greatest heroes are free, but powerless. The Justice League has fallen. The fall was just the beginning. From the ashes of defeat, Batman rises, not as a fighter, but as a general. He leads the fallen gods on a desperate escape, piloting an alien ship out of the death trap. As the joining betrays Strange, overloading his mind with the knowledge he craved, Batman reveals his plan, a hunt for retribution. Each hero using only their wits and courage against the android that stole their power. The battle for Gotham becomes a series of impossible showdowns. Batman takes down the speedster, Green Arrow snares the light. One by one, the heroes reclaim what was stolen from them. The final blow, however, is not a punch. It's a code. John delves into Strange's comatose mind, extracts the key, and transmits it to Batgirl, who sends the shutdown signal to the mothership. The joining's fleet dies in silence. The threat is neutralized. And in the end, the greatest powers in the universe turn to the powerless man, the Dark Knight, and they finally understand. He was never just a member of the League. He was its heart. And with the Junior League by his side, the future has never looked so bright, and at the same time, so dangerous.